So, is there a way to have an abusive relationship with a TV show? Because that's definitely me with Once Upon a Time.
I'm going to spare you the majority of the overly convoluted plot, because there's honestly just too much of it 6.5 seasons in. The too long didn't watch version is that fairy tale characters get themselves cursed into a little town called Storybrooke, Maine, and have to be saved by Emma Swan, who is the daughter of Snow White and Prince Charming. And many hijinks ensue, usually with evil relatives who have some kind of tragic backstory.
So, I got into this show in the spring of 2012, right before the first season finale, and one of the main reasons that I was into it was because of all these gift sets that I've been seeing on Tumblr of Rumpelstiltskin and Belle, more commonly known as Rumbelle. And because this is a show created by the guys who did Lost, continuity is just a suggestion, and retconning reigns supreme. To that end, we're gonna try and tackle this season by season. May Villeneuve and Beaumont have mercy on us all.
There are really only 2 episodes in Season 1 that advance the relationship, the first being Skin Deep, which is a good, simple retelling of the Disney story.
Vertical integration became a much more blatant thing later on, but this was one of the more overt examples in Season 1.
This time around, Belle's sacrifice is not just for her father, but her entire town, kingdom, home. Rumpelstiltskin says he'll protect them from ogres if Belle becomes his live-in housekeeper, and despite the objections of her father and Gaston, who is in this version her fiancé, she agrees. And then Rumpelstiltskin proceeds to be a dick to her. A lot.
On her first day in the castle, he makes her think that he commits mass infanticide, locks her in a dungeon, and
The Chipped Cup becomes a symbol of their relationship, so I think my freakout is justified. Anyway, an undisclosed amount of time passes, and Belle and Rumpel have a moment of accidental hard eyes after she pulls down a curtain, and then Gaston shows up and Rumpel turns him into a rose before sending Belle out to get straw, expecting her to leave him forever.
which, doesn't really make sense when you think about the fact that she believes her staying is what's keeping her family and friends alive. Because, that was the deal.
Belle then proceeds to run into the evil queen from Snow White, Regina.
Yes, really. The names in this show can be very on the nose. They think they're being clever.
Who gets her to realize that she has feelings for Rumpel and suggests that true love's kiss could make Rumpel stop being a malevolent force of darkness because curse. So Belle goes back and gets him to open up and share his tragic backstory about his lost son, followed by a kiss that starts to work, and then...
Is this you being the hero and killing the beast?
This works.
Shut up!
This means it's true love.
Shut the hell up!
Why won't you believe me?
Because no one can ever love me!
Dude, I would say yes to a makeout session with Emily DeRaven, and I'm asexual. You're crazy.
He has a Kylo Ren-style tantrum before Kylo Ren ever did it, and then kicks her out, but not before Belle tells him off.
You just don't think I can love you. Now you've made your choice. And you're going to regret it. Forever.
Sometime later, Regina shows up and tells Rumpel that Belle was locked up in a tower and basically tortured until she committed suicide. Only it's revealed in the real world that this was a lie, and Regina has her prisoner.
Belle made a brief appearance 2 episodes later to give Grumpy an inspirational speech about love that didn't really hit home considering how her story had apparently ended, but, it was cute and well delivered, and that was the last we saw of her until...
In the season finale, Belle is released from her captivity by the Mad Hatter. And yes, that is Sebastian Stan before he ever became the Winter Soldier. And Rumbelle is reunited as the curse breaks. And there is hugging, and feels, and then Rumpelstiltskin decides to bring magic to Storybrooke.
So, in hindsight, Season 1 should have been a warning of things to come. Rumpel had some very clear toxic and destructive tendencies, and Belle was very, very willing to excuse and forgive them. And it only goes downhill from here. Moving on.
Picking up directly where season 1 left off, Belle and Rumpel kiss and get back together, with him promising her that he'll be better this time. Only for him to immediately put a hit on Regina with a discount Dementor. Belle finds out and leaves him, only to come back at the end of the episode and tell him that it's okay that he's a monster because she's going to help fix him.
Karen, keep the refills coming.
That little pattern gets repeated in their next big episode. Belle catches him practicing magic, he won't tell her why, so she leaves and gets herself kidnapped.
I can't go into the details. It's insane.
Belle declares that she's had it and walks out on him, only for him to give her the key to the public library and another sappy speech, at which point she asks him out for a burger. And for a while, it does actually seem like he's reforming and making progress towards being a good person, and then Captain Tightpants has to come and ruin the whole thing.
God, I wish.
Captain Hook, wanting revenge against Rumpel, attacks Belle and steals a MacGuffin scarf, which she then goes to get back only to be caught. Rumpel then intervenes to save her, and she has to talk him down from beating Hook into a bloody, dead mess.
Warning signs, woman! Warning signs! And you know how Captain Hook repays her? By shooting her in the shoulder so that she accidentally crosses the town line and loses all of her memories!
Amnesia Belle lasted about 4 episodes, and Rumpel was gone for the majority of them, but he did try to cure her with True Love's Kiss, which failed spectacularly.
Remember, kids, an unconscious amnesia cannot give consent, even if she used to be your girlfriend.
But he did give her a very sweet phone call when he thought he was dying. But because this is Once Upon a Time and we can't have nice things, Regina magics new memories into Belle's head, turning her into a bar-going floozy named Lacey who actually encouraged Rumpel's darker impulses. And this was an episode that included a flashback of him shouting at her because she was crying for the family she'd lost, making her clean aprons he'd bloodied while flaying a captured Robin Hood, and dragging her along to watch him kill Robin Hood after she did the nice thing and helped him escape. Oh, but she stopped him killing Robin because Maid Marian was pregnant, and this show's bread and butter is parental issues.
The two of them run around being pretty beastly to just about everybody until the final episode when they figure out a way to get Belle's memories back, and then they're immediately separated again. Yeah.
Rumpel sails off to Neverland with the rest of the gang for season 3, leaving Belle to hold down the fort in Storybrooke and crying because it's likely that he's going to die.
Season 2 was something of an improvement because it followed through on actions having, consequences, at least in the present day. The flashbacks were not as helpful. Aside from what I mentioned earlier, there was really just one episode of Belle teaming up with Mulan to fight a monster who was actually Prince Philip, cursed by Maleficent, and then Belle decided to go back to Rumpel because she thought she could save him because he was a beast, and then she was captured by Regina, and... Next. I'm fine, shut up and give me another!
This was when the showrunners started doing half-season arcs. The first one was Neverland, which kept the pair separated but continued Rumpel's redemption arc in 2 major ways. The first was through his interactions with a vision of Belle, where he talked through a lot of his issues, but it turned out to be Peter Pan's shadow trying to manipulate him into leaving Neverland.
Don't ask.
And when he chooses not to give up hope and sends her a message through Ariel, telling her to bring him back a MacGuffin that will help them win the day. The plan works, and Rumpel returns, arguably a hero now, which was proven in the winter finale when he made the choice to heroically sacrifice himself to save everyone by killing the evil Peter Pan, who also happened to be his father.
I said, don't ask. They really should have just let the story end there.
But they didn't, and because we can't have nice things, he was resurrected by Belle and his now grown son, Balefire. Lumiere was there too, but he was working for the Wicked Witch of the West, who immediately took control of Rumpel through the magic dagger that gives him his power. Belle spent most of Season 3B trying to save him with the power of love without much success. When the witch was finally defeated, Rumple proposed to Belle and gave her the dagger because symbolism.
It's meant to symbolize him choosing love over power, and it would have been a really sweet gesture if the dagger hadn't been fake.
Keeping the real one for himself, he stabs his former enslaver and then marries Belle in the woods like a few hours later, and it's all very cute and sweet.
Except it's all built on a lie. They should have just kept him dead. Season 4A's theme was vertical integration. I mean Frozen.
And right out of the gate, the writers seemed desperate to compensate for the terrible relationship that they were writing by giving the shippers fan service out the wazoo. They included a full Alan Menken waltz in the season premiere to distract from the fact that Rumpel spent pretty much the entire first half of the season hiding secrets from Belle and generally being shady and power-hungry, to the point where a demon mirror owned by the Snow Queen had to tell Belle he was being shady.
Which led to a really bizarre finale / tease for Season 4B. Hang on a sec.
The winter finale introduced a new MacGuffin that could lead to a person's weakness in a flashback where Belle got kidnapped by Maleficent, Ursula, and Cruella de Vil. Belle used this to find the real dagger, which she then used to take Rumpelstiltskin to the town line and give him an epic breakup speech before banishing him from the town, since the latest curse had made it so that people couldn't come back once they left.
Look, there's always some kind of curse keeping everybody in town. It's how they justify the set. Anyway, now that the writers have acknowledged that Rumpel is both an addict and an abuser and that he and Belle have a destructive cycle, what happens next?
6 weeks later, Belle seems to have moved on. I guess magical banishment counted as divorce, and is dating Will Scarlet, only for Rumpel to show back up in town with the Queens of Darkness. He tricks Belle into giving him the dagger back without her knowledge, and watches her longingly from the shadows until a few episodes later, when they do actually talk. He shows her that his heart is literally getting consumed by darkness, making it harder and harder for him to love, so she forgives him. But then Regina ruins it again by wiping Mel's memory of the conversation through the use of her own magic heart.
Oh yeah, people's hearts can be like magically taken out and crushed to kill them, or used for magic mind control. I forgot not everybody watches this show, okay?
Will and Rumpel manage to get back Belle's heart, and Rumpel supposedly lets her go, but now she's sweet on him again, and we basically never see Will reappear. Oh, and Rumpel in the season finale asks the overpowered author that everyone's been chasing for the entire season to write them a happy ending in this alternate reality that really just reinforces how artificial their relationship has become at this point. It doesn't stick though, and that whole dark heart thing catches up with him to the point where they have to magic the darkness out of him and basically put him into a coma.
You know what? I think I need a nap too. Karen? Never get me another.
Season 5A sees our heroes journey to Camelot to find Emma, who took on all of the darkness that went out of Rumpel. Belle leaves his body behind, but gets to bring along a magical rose that monitors his vital signs because Disney movie. But she also gets some nice little bits of usefulness on her own, including another girl trip, this time with Merida. Unfortunately, she's not nearly as interesting in the Storybrooke plotline.
I can't. Go listen to Once Upon a Time and they'll make better sense of this than me.
With Rumpel's heart now pure, Dark Emma wakes him up and tries to turn him into a hero so that he can pull Excalibur from the stone for her nefarious purposes. There are more shenanigans with Merida turning into a bear and Rumpel having to save Belle from her, but they don't get back together at that point because he's finally gotten wise to the fact that he really doesn't deserve her because he's a coward.
And you know, not because he was selfish or power hungry or manipulative or a liar.
The The Season 5 winter finale battle goes down, but not before Rumpel gives her the chance to leave town and be free to live her life. But Belle decides she doesn't need adventure in the Great Wide Somewhere because she'd rather be with him. And then it's revealed to the audience that he has, through more shenanigans, become the super mega ultra dark one, and he gets blackmailed into helping people go to the underworld so that they won't tell Belle. The next time they see each other, Belle has been summoned to the underworld by Hades, who decided to create a rift between the two of them by revealing the fact that he now owns a contract Rumpel had previously made to a rando promising them his second-born child. And because this is a series where art imitates life,
Belle is pregnant. And this is where things got really, really icky.
When he told her about the contract and accidentally revealed that he had his powers back, Belle was righteously pissed. Rumpel's response? Mansplaining that he could love his power and her, despite the fact that everything up till then said otherwise. Hades attempted to tear them apart further by offering Belle an out from the contract if she would send either Rumpel or Gaston into the river Acheron.
Gaston also got some backstory in this episode about how he was, like, super, super evil, but it's not important.
Belle, recognizing that Rumpel's toxic behavior is starting to rub off on her, decides the best course of action is to put herself into a magical coma until Hades is defeated, with the caveat that Rumpel should get her father to wake her up afterwards with true love's kiss. And she stays that way for the rest of the season. Rumpel expresses some remorse about what he's done, but clearly doesn't learn any lesson because he keeps relying on his drug of choice and using magic to solve everything.
So close. So close.
Using magical dream sand, Rumpel travels into Belle's enchanted sleep to find her having nightmares of her time as his servant, and he tries to quickly whip up enough romantic mojo to convince her that they really are true love and wake her up. Much to the delight of a strange young man who's been following them for basically the entire dream, Belle does not fall for it. The man then reveals himself to actually be their unborn son, who wakes up Belle himself.
Did he kiss her uterine wall? Oh, who cares?
Now conscious, Belle leaves Rumpel and gets help from the rest of the gang, only to be cornered by the show's latest cameo, Jekyll and Hyde, which, big shock, ends up with her in danger because of something Rumpel did. And when she calls him out on it, he basically tells her that she needs him to protect her. She keeps her distance for the majority of the season, but occasionally gives him copies of ultrasounds until he crosses the line yet again with another MacGuffin, this time involving meddling with their child's destiny so that he can keep them around. This prompts Belle to make plans to leave town, but then Rumpelstiltskin slaps a magical tracking bracelet on her.
We need a minute.
Belle's pregnancy is magically accelerated. It wasn't Rumpel, but everybody thought it was, and he wasted no time in coming for the kid regardless of who actually used the magic. To stop Rumpel getting their son, Belle entrusts the baby, now called Gideon, to the Blue Fairy, only for little Gideon to immediately get the treatment of Connor from Angel, being kidnapped and raised in an alternate dimension by the evil Black Fairy.
Yes, they copied Joss Whedon. I have no words either.
Gideon and the Black Fairy are the main antagonists of Season 6B, so the main plotline for Rumpel and Belle involved them trying to save their son from his evil grandmother. Oh yeah, the Black Fairy is Rumpel's mother, because everyone is related in this forking show. There are shenanigans, MacGuffin chasings, speeches about hope and redemption, and that damn beast metaphor, Rumpel switching sides for shady reasons, and then, in the season finale, the Black Fairy is defeated, Gideon is reverted back to being a baby, and despite the hell he has put her through over the past season, Belle forgives Rumpel and they get back together to raise their son. Everything about the last we see of them in the season 6 finale indicates they are happy and in love, right down to using that Mencken theme again.
Except it wasn't earned. He was horrible and controlling and possessive and a liar.
There was something of a Force Awakens style reboot sequel that went down in season 7, with most of the main cast leaving the show. Emily DeRaven, who played Belle, was not invited back as a regular cast member, but appeared in the 4th episode of the season, titled Beauty.
And with a name like that, you can probably figure out that Belle dies in this episode. I wish I were sadder about this than I actually am.
The flashback portions of this episode detail their quest to find a way to break his curse, because apparently true love's kiss is no longer an option, and Belle comes across a prophecy that says the Dark One's curse can be broken by someone called the Guardian after the sun sets at the edge of realms, a magical place where they live together as Carl and Ellie from Up. No, I'm not kidding. They do the house building and the montage and everything. Belle gives a dying speech that kind of highlights exactly why their happy ending isn't really earned, and then dies, with Rumpel going off to find the Guardian to finally take the curse away from him and let him die so he can be with Belle.
When people say that Beauty and the Beast is about Stockholm Syndrome or abusive relationships, this is the kind of story that they're talking about. Well, this and those awful direct-to-video sequels. Ugh.
Over the course of 6 seasons, Belle was increasingly isolated from the rest of the main cast, only connected to them because she was connected to Rumpel, and the fact that she kept giving him chances when he would continuously waste them by relapsing into his toxic habits made it harder and harder to appreciate the romantic moments. Once Upon a Time has always tried to give its villains complex and sympathetic backstories and motivations, but that often ends up meaning that the terrible things they do get excused because the writers want to give them redemption arcs. And they also wanted to have Rumpel doing evil things, so it became this very uncomfortable cycle of abuse. Season 7's farewell episode rang hollow to me because it romanticized so much of the terrible things he'd done.
In the end, she came back to him. More than a few times.
This wasn't earned! After that dagger stunt in season 4, he should have lost all credit with you! You deserve better than him! Karen, just roll the credits. I have nothing else to say.
Merci beaucoup for watching, everyone. If you like what I do, please be sure to like, leave comments, and share this video, and to subscribe to help my channel reach a wider audience, as well as following me on Facebook and Twitter. If you're feeling generous, and you don't need to spend all your money on ball gowns and obscenely tight leather pants, you can support me on Patreon to get early access to my videos, request future episodes, and be considered for cameos. Encore, merci, and I will see you next time when we will try to find something more positive to talk about. Au revoir!
God damn it. The good thing about wearing lipstick when you're doing a show like this is that you know exactly where to take the drink. No, I'm never gonna use this glass again. Do you want to be in the video? Do you want to be in the video?